giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Good morning, good people. Welcome to AZ Sports Live. We are streaming live on YouTube. And of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Boom! You see it today. We are going to talk about in detail why I think the Cowboys' schedule is perfect. Yes, indeed. Plus, Mike Zimmer, Jeff Scanina. We'll listen to Mike Solari. We're going to listen to a couple coaches speak on some of the most important players for the Cowboys, specifically Micah and Mazi. So that should be fun because they detail and some of the things that we have not heard just quite yet in the offseason. So make sure y'all stick around for that, Cowboys Nation. What's good with your bomb squad?
Bomb squad!
Hey, look, I was going to wear my Mr. Perfect shirt, and I should have, but the Mr. Perfect, edition, the music, that was a last-second ad. It wasn't something that I planned to do, but I thought about it. I'm like, oh, wait, listen, that's one of my favorite themes, one of my favorite wrestlers, one of the best in-ring wrestlers of all time. It just made sense. It made sense to use that theme today because I think the Cowboys schedule is chef's kiss. It is chef's kiss, and I can't wait to detail it with you guys. I don't normally get all jazzed up about the schedule release. I just sat here and talked about it yesterday. But, I'm always expecting the Cowboys to get the short end of the stick for everything in regards to the schedule. That was not the case. That was not the case this year. And, in the roundup, I'm going to tell you, why that was the case for another team. And I'm just glad it wasn't us. I'm shocked it wasn't the Cowboys. But, hey, I ain't tripping. I ain't tripping at all. Now, for those who may be new, what we do during the regular season, we go every week. No matter if the team is 0-17 or 17-0. We talk about their defense, their offense, where the Cowboys match up well, where that team may have an advantage, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not going to go through every game today and say, yeah, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. We do the season. That's for the season. That's the breakdown. What I usually say during this time, when I look at the schedule, the team as it stands, healthy, things like that, Cowboys should be in the playoffs. If the team stays healthy, that's just the way it is. Now, once they get there, that's a different story. How they get there, that's a different story. I am not one of those who believe this team is a 6-11 team, 7-9, whatever. I don't believe that. Do I believe they're 13-4, 14-3? I'm not going to go that far. Playoff team, how they perform in the playoffs, a different story. But when we detail the schedule today, it's not necessarily about win-loss. It's about everything else surrounding it that can help you get to said win for the season. Before all that, though, let's hit this roundup and talk about why the Cowboys dodged a bullet.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It is time for...
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Let me talk to you.
Let me talk to you, Cowboys Nation. This absolutely shocked me. I was not expecting any other team to be the first at this specific thing. But the Jets have managed to do something that the Cowboys did not for the first time, and I am thankful to the football gods. Warren Sharp dropped this tweet, and I retweeted it, actually. The Jets are the first team in NFL history to receive 6 primetime games in the first 11 weeks of the season. Oh, my God. Do y'all know how sick I would have been? Again, we have new viewers. We're up to 26,000, by the way. Shouts out to y'all. I am not a fan of primetime games. Never have been. I hate them. It's all fun and games. Everybody's watching. That's cool. Call me an old man. Call me whatever you want. I hate waiting around for the game, number one. Number two, I hate staying up for the game. And this was prior to me actually covering the team. Now, when you're covering the team and you're out, you're not getting home till after midnight, it is ridiculous. And the Cowboys always max out their primetime games. They're only allowed to do 6 primetime games a year. The Cowboys max it out because they are the Cowboys. But I'm fine with it this year because it's spread out. And we'll get into those details. But 6 in the first 11 weeks, yeah, y'all would have got do-rag Sky. The first 11 weeks of the season, I don't care win or loss, y'all would have got do-rag Sky. Not because they won or lost, but because I'm sick and tired of staying up all day, waiting for this team to play, and then staying up till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. It's ridiculous. So thank you, Jets, for saving the Cowboys this problem. Instead, the Cowboys actually got one of the most favorable schedules in recent memory. Dare I say, perfect. Perfect. I think this is a perfect schedule, and I want to talk to y'all about it. If you want to call in and talk about it, or the latter part of today's show, you can 351-999-3787. I'm right there with you. I love the early games. Love them. Give me 12 noon games every year. I'll take it. Now, Jerry doesn't like that. Jerry wants to be on this big stage, spotlight, and he will, you know. But give me noon. 325, cool too. I'll take 325. Yeah. No doubt about it. All right, let's get into the schedule, though. And break down some of the things that I absolutely love about it. Number one, before we even get to the actual schedule, the preseason schedule is favorable once again. Dallas does the Oxnard camp, right? So in Oxnard, which is in California, for those who may not know, they stay on the West Coast for a long time. And in fact, the entirety of camp except like the last week or two. And with that, the league tends to try to keep their preseason games on the West Coast. And they did that. They'll be at the LA Rams, at the Vegas Raiders, and then they come back home against the Chargers. So I'd imagine they're going to bust to the Rams game, which is only like a couple hours away. They're likely going to bust to the Vegas game, maybe a quick private jet flight, who knows, but it's only like 5 hours. So they'll probably bust there. And then they'll fly home for the final week or so of camp, and they'll face the Chargers. So already off the bat, you get a good start once again in preseason with their schedule. No going to, cross coast or anything like that. A couple years ago, maybe 3, they had they were featured against the Steelers in the Hall of Fame game. So, they had to fly all the way to Cleveland or Ohio and then fly back. So they don't have to do anything like that. But let's talk about the actual schedule. We detailed a little bit about week 1 and the matchups. We won't get into all these matchups or anything like that just yet. I mean, if you want to call in and talk about it, we absolutely can. But here are some of the things that I like, and then I'll get into what I believe is the best part of the schedule. Number 1, we talked about primetime. No primetime games until week 4, baby. And the beauty of this primetime game is Thursday night football. I don't mind Thursday night football. We'll do Thursday night football. We come back Friday, talk about it, and then boom, we're ready to the weekend, and we can just chill. We can chill on Sunday. I'm cool with that. They get the normal 6 primetime games, though, in general, and 6.5, right? We got the Giants, week 13, Thanksgiving. This is the second time in 3 years they'll be playing the Giants on Thanksgiving. So I'm cool with that. Number 2, no Eagles primetime game. What? I truly had to double take here. Cowboys get the normal 6 slates, right? And okay, look, I get it. Bucks just went to the playoffs and won. The Niners, of course, right? Steelers, Cowboys, yes. Bengals, okay, you get Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, yeah. But the Giants get 2 primetime? None with the Eagles? Interesting. This is the first time since 2003 that that has happened. Cowboys, Eagles have not been on primetime. Number 3, no Christmas or Christmas Eve games. Man, this thing is just continuing to roll. I'm fine with this. The Cowboys will be playing, I believe, on December 22nd. So they won't be playing that Christmas Day game. They won't be playing Christmas Eve. They will only be playing on Thanksgiving in regards to said holidays. Fine with that. Number 4, no Thursday night game after Thanksgiving. Instead, they get a Monday night game against the Bengals. You guys know every year when we know the schedule's coming out, we anticipate, all right, who are the Cowboys playing on Thursday? And then who are they playing the next Thursday? It's almost a tradition. It's almost an annual thing that happens all the time. I don't know if it's to give the opposing team to make things even, fair, whatever you want to call it. I hate it because that's usually when the Cowboys get the whole 3 games in 11 days or whatever it is. Instead, the Cowboys actually are going to get a mini bye here. They're going to play the Bengals the next week, but on Monday night. So that's 11 days rest. I'm all for it. This thing is it just continues to get better. So let's get back to it, right? And let's talk about the toughest part of the schedule before we get into what I believe is the best part. For me, the toughest part is right before the bye week and then right before where I believe the best part comes. Week 6 to week 11. You get Detroit at Detroit. You get the bye week. Then coming out the bye, you go to San Francisco, Sunday Night Football. The Cowboys seem to not be able to shake this San Francisco bug here. It's been since 2020 since they beat them, and they weren't a good team then. Then you go to Atlanta, and you get Magic City Kurt, right, with that talented bunch in Atlanta. Even though I think the Cowboys were better, Atlanta is still going to be a fun team and probably going to push a lot of teams this year. So you go to Atlanta in week 9, followed up with a home game against Philly, followed up with another home game against the Texans. I feel like all 5 of those teams are going to be competitive, playoff, pushing type teams, with the obvious ones of, I think, Houston, Detroit, San Francisco, and Philly. I think they will all make the playoffs, or if not make it, they're going to be right there. And Atlanta, I think, is going to be right there. So I think that's the toughest part. You get 3 away games against 3 good to solid teams, and even your home games are against your rival. And what could be setting up to be a potential rival with the Texans, we'll see here. You got Micah Parsons and CJ Stroud doing some good work over across seas and together and whatnot. So I think that'll be a fun matchup. Houston and Cowboys that's going to be lit. I wish that one was on a primetime game. You know, can't get rid of primetime. So if it's going to be primetime, let it be that type of game. However, while that may be the toughest part, I think this is the best part of the schedule. And it just happens to be as we're ending the season. So in the Cowboys' final 7 games, they get Washington twice. They get the Panthers. They get the Giants. And just to sprinkle in a little bit more competition here, they go to Philly, which could be a huge game determining this division. And they get Joe Burrow and the defending NFC South champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with Baker Mayfield coming off a huge payday. So the reason why I think this is a great ending to the season for the Cowboys, 4 of their last 6 games are at home. 4 of the last 6. And yes, we understand what happened in the playoffs. With all of that said, Cowboys are still tough to beat at home. And I still don't believe, my apologies for those who continue to go to the games, I still don't believe it's because of y'all. Sorry. I don't think it's because of y'all. I think it's because they just are comfortable. The offense just works better there. And it just is what it is. So you get 4 of the last 6 at home. You get Philly, who we don't know. Philly hasn't closed out the season well the last few years, right? So you get Philly at the crib. New defensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. I like that. Cowboys beat Cincy a couple years ago when they went to the Super Bowl. Granted, early in the season with Cooper Rush. I know. This was a few years ago. Cincy, different backfield. They don't have the same wide receiver core, offensive line. We'll get into all that as we go. And it's week 14. A lot can change, but I like this matchup. Now, they got a good defensive coordinator over there too, but there's not a juggernaut opponent here, but there are going to be competitive games when you look at the Philly, you look at Tampa, you look at Cincy. At the very least, those are going to be competitive games. So I think this part of the schedule, this isn't the part of the schedule that's going to tell you about the team, but it's the part of the schedule where I think it's most favorable and you can potentially gain some momentum going into the playoffs. And hey, you can get some, I don't know if you call it payback, but you can get your lick back a little bit on Dan Quinn to end the season and to start this part of the schedule. But Cowboys Nation, what do you believe is the best part of the Cowboys 2024 schedule and the toughest part of the Cowboys schedule here? My toughest stretch, week 6 to 11. My best stretch, week 12 to 18. Let's rap to y'all about it. I'll keep this up, though, so you guys can kind of see here. Boom. If y'all want to drop your predictions, that's cool too. I'm not going to ridicule y'all for your predictions here. Y'all know me. For those who've been following me for years, I don't do record predictions in May. I know it's easy and it's a fun thing to do, but I just can't, man. I know I can make a whole Cowboy. Here's the title here. Cowboys record will be, or Cowboys record predict, and they'll get all the clicks and it'll be fun and all that stuff. But in reality, it's May. Injuries happen, more additions happen. The first 3 to 4 weeks of the season nowadays is like preseason. Who you are in week 1, 2, and 3 is not who you are in week 12, 13, and 14. So I kind of take all that into effect. And for years I've been saying, let me see what teams are looking like 5, 6 weeks, and then I can have a legitimate discussion for the next 12 games, 11 games, or whatever it is, because a lot of things change once that bell kicks off and you get out there and the bullets are flying and guys are getting hit, guys ain't living up to this or that, injuries, all that. It plays a factor into your record there. But that's why I always say, healthy, double-digit win team. It always is. But I can care less about that anymore. Truly. The Detroit game's a home game. Apologies. My bad there. I will fix that one. So Detroit's a home. I can fix it right now. Let's go do it. As we're talking here. Let's see. We got. That's the topic on Skip Show. I don't know why Skip Show. 12-5 or 14-3. Boy. Yeah, that's Vach's joint right there. That's Vach's joint. 17-0 until proven otherwise. Whose talk is cheap, Big Dow? I'm not sure who you are, but I'm not sure what you mean either. Toughest weeks 1 through 6. 1 through 6. Cleveland, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Detroit. Look, I think Pittsburgh, they did get a couple of quarterbacks. They're always a competitive team. I like the Saints matchup. Obviously, the Giants, we should smack the Giants. I mean, if you look at it, Cleveland, I don't know. I think Deshaun Watson, their defense good. They won't got running game Moses no more. They won't have Nick Chubb. I doubt they'll have Nick Chubb. I like this matchup in week 1. Baltimore, Detroit, though. That's mad tough. I'll give you that. I'll give you that for sure. Let me fix this here. Let's see. Marv said 12-5, 11-6. Can you imagine if they go 12-5 4 years in a row? We talked about this the other day. We went through a stint of 5-11 3 years in a row, 8-8 3 years in a row, 12-5 3 years in a row. This team is so strange. This franchise has been so strange since the last Super Bowl. I don't know that a team has ever done anything like that. And then obviously we made history last year, the worst kind of history. The only team in NFL history to go 12-5 3 times in a row and never make the NFC Championship game. It's a bit ridiculous. 10-7. I've been hearing a lot of 10-7 this year. Grayson said week 6 to 11 is definitely the measuring stick for us. Yes, that's to me the toughest stretch or measuring stick, as you will. The back end, where was I just saw it. Oh, talking to Toxic. Oh yeah, I saw Toxic in there. Toxic, look, bro, this is the original Toxic Tom. For those who are not familiar with Toxic, he doesn't believe in the Cowboys. And I guess I can't blame teams, but when they do start playing better in the regular season, he kind of comes around and becomes a fan again. But yeah, this is normal Toxic Tom. Before the season start, Cowboys suck. They're not going to be good. 9 times out of 10, the Cowboys are going to be a good team, and he'll change his tune a little bit, but he'll hold off until we get to the playoffs. I ain't mad at y'all who think the Cowboys are going to suck. I just don't believe that they will. Real quick, is that the only one I messed up, Brian? Let me pull this up. Yes, Detroit. Is that the only one? Because if that's the only one I messed up, I will just fix that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, I had 9 away games on there. My apologies. That should be the only one I messed up. Boom. Bow. Bang. Round 1 is the floor, Swain. Always. Always, man. I'm not the type that predicts Super Bowl. That's just never been me, man. Especially this franchise. I'm the type that'll tell you, yeah, it's a playoff team, but we've been here so many times. I can care less about them just being a playoff team. Solid Duck says 17-0. I don't give a damn. Hey, man. We need them type too. We need them type as well. So let me fix this. Boom. Fixed. I'm going to fix it over here too. I don't want to bamboozle you.
You've been had. You've been took. You've been hoodwinked. Bamboozled. Led astray. Run amok. This is what he does.
No. This is not what I do. This is not what I do. All right. So there's a schedule. Again, I'll go through real fast some of my notes from it. I'm not going to spend an hour discussing it. I actually want to get to the second part of the show because that is way more interesting to me. But I do think that this schedule is perfect. So you got no primetime games until week 4, 6 in total, and they're spread out. I love that. Eagles Cowboys not being on primetime, I mean, that kind of sucks. I wouldn't consider that something that's favorable. I always like to watch the Cowboys against the Eagles, whoop on the Eagles in primetime. That's not going to happen. No Christmas or Christmas Eve games. Love that. No Thursday night game following Thanksgiving. Absolutely love that. The Cowboys get an 11-day mini bye week right away. They don't have to wait an extra week, and they get it at the crib, right, against the Bengals. So I do like that. Another thing that I didn't bring up, I missed this note here. Go back to the schedule. If you guys take a look, they avoid all the AFC North teams on the road in December. Why is that a big deal? Well, because I completely buried the lead of what I usually look at as soon as the schedule drops. And the only reason why it kind of went over my head, because when I did get the schedule sent to me, I was just looking at it from top to bottom like this is amazing. But what else is amazing is you really don't have some crazy-ass cold weather game. Potentially one, right? Philly, week 17. If anything, playing the Commanders in November is going to be balmy or rainy. That ain't going to be cold. That's not real cold. Philly in week 17, you might get some cold, but for the most part, you get normal football weather. This isn't Buffalo. You're not getting Pittsburgh at the end of December. You get Pittsburgh in week 5. And who's the other one I'm missing here? Oh, and you get Cleveland to open up the season. Those two, if you got Cleveland and Pittsburgh in week 17 and 16, totally different situation, man. Both of those cities get crazy from a temperature standpoint. So one real cold weather game, if it's even cold. So you potentially might have none. You love that part. You love that part. And I talked about how the toughest part of the schedule is week 6 through 11, and the best part for me is week 14 through 18. When it got announced, what was this, April, whatever, not April, I think it was February, January, I don't know. When it got announced that the Cowboys opponents, these were the Cowboys opponents. Tough, right? Schedule's still tough. Don't get it twisted. This is still going to be a competitive schedule to deal with and navigate through. But as it always stands, you have to go look at the how. Like, how do these games line up? Is there a lot of travel? You got to play a lot of teams coming off a bye. Cowboys are only playing one team coming off a bye. San Fran gets 4, which is wild. So a lot of things factor into this. And I like it. If you like the schedule, let's get a thumbs up. If the schedule to you sucks, get a thumbs down. For me, it's perfect. It's perfect. Saints with Carr are good enough to beat us. I mean, let's be honest here. Every NFL team is good enough to beat everybody. That's just the way the NFL works. I like to look at things more on a micro level instead of a macro. Again, everybody on this schedule can beat you if you don't bring it. But then as you break things down, I love the matchup against the Saints. I think we can beat the Saints. You can beat a lot of these teams. We will beat a lot of these teams. This is the way it is. So there's that. Yeah, overwhelmingly A-OK with the schedule. I'm with you. I'm with you for sure. Now let's get to this part of the show here. Mike Zimmer. We're going to listen to Coach Jeff Scanina. That's how you say it, by the way. And we're going to listen to Mike Solari. All these guys spoke the other day. And honestly, we could do a whole entire show on all of these coaches because there were some good things pulled out of each and every one of them. I like Lunda Wells' interview, Coach Z's interview, not Zimmer, Scanina. I know it sounds weird, but that's how you say it. Obviously, I enjoyed Zim's interview. That's the best one. That's the most anticipated one. I know we got a little glimpse of it when he sat down with the Doomsday podcast, but he didn't have all the reporters grilling him on specific things. He had all the reporters grilling him. Maybe I shouldn't say grilling. Maybe that's not fair. But he had all the reporters asking the questions that we wanted to know. And I want to get into that. But we did get somebody that jumped up in here on the horn. So before we do that, we'll take a quick phone break, and then we'll jump back into Mike Zimmer detailing not just not just Mazi, not just Micah, but what he expects out of this defense and these young players. First, though, we got 727 on the horn. Good morning.
Hey, how you doing, Scott? This is Mr. Amos here. Long time no talk to.
What's up, Mr. Amos? How you doing?
Oh, nothing much, man. Just sitting here chilling, man. I'm real excited, about this season, man, and what Mike Zimmer can do. I real happy about the linebacker from Notre Dame. I was watching him for a while, and he has all the traits that you need a linebacker. He has that tenacity. He runs into people. He's not going to shy away. And I like the length of his arms, to just ward off oncoming blockers. Also, that I like the schedule. I think he can go either way, but I think the whole X factor in would be number one guy, Mr. Zimmer, because he has the familiarity, with those teams, with the AFC North, your Cincinnati's and your Pittsburgh. He's familiar with those people. He's familiar with Detroit, that type of, and also with him, his
Mr. Amos, if you don't mind me pushing back a little bit here, the last time he coached against those teams, coached against the NFC North, it was completely different looking NFC North. So I don't know if there's much, being familiar with those squads. And the AFC North, I mean, he hasn't coached over there in like 2 decades, so it's been a while.
Well, I think it's just a mentality how like especially a team like Baltimore and Pittsburgh, how they keep the mentality of their defense and the nastiness in that, the competitiveness in that division, and also with the North also too. And one thing also that Zimmer, his teams have been overachievers because he have coached teams that come out of nowhere to post off in the playoffs. And I like his tenacity and I like his fire. I think if we're going to do anything positive this year, it's going to be through the defense. That's all I got. Oh, yeah, and I think one thing we're going to have a rough spot is I'm worried about Guyton holding up for the first 6 weeks or either the last 6 weeks.
You got him what now?
I know it's going to be some rough spots. Guyton, I'm worried about him holding up.
Oh, okay.
Because I think going to be some rough spots with him.
Growing pains.
With pass rushes that's going to be coming through there. So, but all around, it's hard to get a gauge on the season so far because every team is going to be up and down because we can't predict that Detroit is going to be a juggernaut of none of these teams. We just don't know because there's always an ebb and flow and yin and yang every year.
Yeah.
All right, Scott, you just take care, my friend, and God bless you. And congratulations to the new one.
Thank you, Mr. Amos. Appreciate you, man. And enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, bye.
Let's get into one of the guys he was talking about here. Let's also kind of remember here, Zim's a defensive coach, so he's not technically the head coach just yet. He may be next year. I think it was Mr. Amos who had brought that up, and we kind of was like, yeah, he held, but I wouldn't put it past the Joneses that would happen. But I think Zim is going to have his guys ready to play. Now, whether they're able to execute, that's a different story week in, week out. But I agree with you, Mr. Amos. I like his mentality already, but week in, week out, Zim is not going to be for the bull. He just is not. But anyway, let's tee this thing up with Coach Mike Zimmer. And they say, hey, Coach, what are some of the expectations you have for Mazi Smith? And what's his weight looking like? Within this whole conversation, him and Coach Z details his responsibilities as well. But this is Coach Zim on his expectations and where his weight's at.
Well, obviously he was a high draft pick, and I heard that he kind of struggled a little bit last year. So, we're going to start with the basics, get him in a good stance, get him in, using his hands the right way, getting his footwork the right way, and then kind of go from there. I talked to him a little bit, I guess it was yesterday, and he said, I asked him what weight he feel comfortable at, and so we got to get him to that point first, and then, get his strength back, and then, we'll let him go out here on the field, and, we anticipate that he's going to be a good player like he was in college, but, that's how we have to go. Well, that's kind of what he did in college, he lost a lot of weight when he got here, and he was trying to be a attacking 3 technique to get up the field, and we're going to probably play blocks a little bit more than that, try not to get reached so linebackers know where they're supposed to fit and so on and so forth. So, I guess that's the biggest thing. I think he told me he's like 305 right now, and I'll keep that his ideal weight to me.
Before we get to Coach Z, a.k.a. Mr. Incredible here, let's talk about that weight situation. So you heard Zim. Zim said, hey, he was told by Mazi 305. If you guys remember when the depth chart dropped, they listed Mazi Smith at his original weight of 328. Not going to lie to you. Saw that. My eyes kind of got big, and I was like, all right, awesome, great. Strange, weird, but whatever. He somehow, some way got back up to that 328. Not the case. Credit to a lot of y'all who was like, hey, I don't know about that. Like, how is that even possible if he is dealing with the shoulder surgery? he was 290 Mazi, literally 290 Mazi, and all of a sudden he back up to 328. Not the case, okay? He has been told, he told Zim he's at 305, and they have a weight goal. If I had to guess, let's play that game in the chat too. He's not going to disclose the weight goal. But if I had to guess, I think it's 315. I think he wants to get at a solid 315, 320 tops. If I would have kept playing that part of the interview, or I think later on, I think Zim said something along the lines of, Mazi didn't like the weight in college. So 328, 330, he didn't want to be 330. I don't think he wanted to be 290, but there were some mental things that went on with Mazi Smith. There was also some things that, Dallas wanted him to do differently, do more upfield things, which we'll get to here in a second. And maybe he said, I'm going to lose a little weight. That ended up turning into a lot of weight, but it is what it is. Nonetheless, I think around 315, 320 tops. Where do you guys think that Mazi Smith's ideal weight under Mike Zimmer would be? Because it doesn't sound like they want him to go over 330 pounds. 315, 320, 310, 315, 320. So between that 315 A-hatch and 320, I think so too. Hallelujah. Hey, Hallelujah said, hey, dog, can't do nothing if they ain't too something. 325, 320, 325. Yeah, I hope look, let me say this. 290 Mazi is terrible. That's all. Like when I say terrible, I mean, you do not want to see him there. 305 Mazi is not ideal. But I will give him the benefit of the doubt here that he's slowly but surely creeping back into that weight range. If it's 315, that's still a lot of weight you got to put back on between 292 and 315. But credit to him if he can get back there. And hopefully he can get back there without using anything. Hopefully he can get back there without suffering any type of injury and then regaining that strength that made Mazi wanted coming out of college. But aside from Zimmer detailing how they're going to use Mazi Smith, this is Coach Scanina who echoed the same thing that Mike Zimmer said in regards to, hey, man, this is what we want him to do, and it differs from what he was doing with the previous regime.
Well, I think he's going to be able to play blocks more than just getting upfield, all right? Not disrespecting the previous coaches that were here or anything. It's just different system, different style of D-line play that, Coach Zim's brought in, So I think it suits him better. Instead of just running upfield, he's going to play blocks. He's going to grind blocks and double teams and all that stuff, especially in the run game.
So his get-off philosophy is going to be different.
Yeah, especially at the nose tackle position. Yes, it is.
So a couple things here before we break down this specific play. Coach Z, a.k.a. Mr. Incredible, I mean, I promise y'all, if you haven't seen Mr. Incredibles, if you don't have kids, just Google that. This dude is a replica of that man. He also does look like the Toy Soldier character. However, if you've seen Coach Z zoomed out, this guy is a huge guy. He's like Mr. Incredible. But anyway, Coach Z said, different system that suits him better. I ain't knocking you, Dan, but the things you were asking Mazi to do did not suit Mazi. And that's something that we talked about a lot. He said instead of just running upfield, he's going to play blocks and then the get off at nose tackle. I mean, how many times this offseason that we said, look, they were asking Mazi Smith to do 3-tech type things. Will McClay came out and said, yeah, we value that he has some pass rush upside. Dan Quinn was probably told, hey, if we're going to take him here, can we get him to be a pass rusher? And I feel like they sped up that process, and then you had the mental thing going on with Mazi and then the losing weight thing. It just was a complete disappointment of a rookie season. But sometimes, or a lot of times, or all the time, it really matters where you go, right? And soon as Dan Quinn got hired, I thought, well, immediately, I think Mazi is going to be a better player. How much better, we shall see. But this is just one example of what I think they'll be asking him to do. Whereas Dan Quinn asked guys to kind of play attack mode and get upfield, I feel like they're going to ask Mazi to do more of this. In this play right here, he's head up over 73, which is Steve Avila, the rookie from last year. And, we'll see Mazi Smith fire out of his stance and he's staying square. Okay, he's not firing in any gap. He's playing the block, not shooting a gap. And once he delivers that powerful punch, because he's a powerful guy, he's a strong guy, one of the strongest guys in college coming out. He delivers that powerful punch, lifts Steve Avila, which is not easy. This kid's a big, strong kid too. And he extends, locates the ball, and once he does that, he disengages and he makes the tackle. I think this is the type of Mazi you will see a little bit more of, as opposed to firing out in a specific gap. And I use firing with the quotations because he wasn't even doing that well. But I saw a back and forth on Twitter from a media guy, and I don't know, man. I feel like he's wrong in this situation. I do feel like Dan Quinn definitely asked his nose tackles and one techs to do things that nose tackles and one techs don't normally do. And we talked about it. I feel like we were a bit bamboozled.
You've been had. You've been took. You've been hoodwinked. Bamboozled. Led astray. Run amok. This is what he does.
I just think that's what happened. And there's proof of that. It's not just Mazi Smith. No, there's proof of Bohanna. Dan Quinn, hey, he's going to play here, and sometimes he's going to play here. We're going to keep guys clean. Both said it. Both said, the thing I do best, play the run and clear up lanes for guys, my linebackers and safeties to fill. Well, coach asked him to do a little bit more pass rush things. Wanted you to get upfield. He was literally playing 3 tech sometimes, and I was like, this is weird, but it is what it is. You get Big Country in here, you give up on him very quickly. You get Mazi Smith in here, and that whole debacle. So I won't go as far as saying, he, Coach Dan Quinn sabotaged Mazi Smith. I just don't think he used him correctly. I think that is fair to say. Let's take a listen to Mike Zimmer on Micah Parsons. I said this the other day. This is the big conversation here. How will Coach Zim use Micah Parsons?
Well, they don't have to take many steps. I think, as we're just sitting up there again this morning talking about other things we can do with him, and he's such a dynamic player that I said this the other day that the offenses are always going to know where he's at, and so they're going to turn protections to him. They're going to have the back help chip no matter what it is. And a lot of the games he played last year that I watched, the offenses had a good scheme where they get 2 tight ends on him and all those things. So we're gonna obviously gonna move him around, doing different things with him, but we're gonna use him some ways where we're getting the protection turned the way we want it turned, and then able to win on the other side. And there's sometimes we're gonna try to overload a protection where he gets a one-on-one.
Couple things there. Actually, a whole lot of things there. Zimmer is clearly aware that teams are going to dedicate their game plan to stopping Micah, right? Which, why would they not? But he also understands the value of moving him around across that line. So with that said, other guys have to take advantage of that. When you go look at a lot of our losses last year, some of the big games, right? San Francisco, Buffalo, Miami, and of course in the Packers game, you'll see when it comes to the pass rush, there is a theme. All these teams are obviously trying to take Micah out. Some teams did very well at it. Some teams did not. But look at the opposite of Micah, right? Okay, who maybe stepped up or who made big plays outside of Micah Parsons, if he did make plays or if he didn't? You look at the San Francisco game. I mean, we saw how that played out. No defensive lineman registered a sack in that game, and only one quarterback hit all day. Okay? Even Micah didn't have a great game in that game from a statistical standpoint or pass rush pressure standpoint. He only had 2 pressures in that game. Against Buffalo, a game where they ran the ball a whole lot. We know that was a disaster from a run game department. But even in the pass game, because we're talking about pass rush, right? He had 7 pressures in that game. They only threw the ball like 19 times, okay? But he had 7 pressures in that game, didn't register a sack, but only Mazi registered a sack, and he only had 8 snaps, and there wasn't a whole lot of pressures outside of Micah. You go look at the Miami game. Micah was a menace. This was right after Buffalo. They said, hey, let's see a little bit more snaps at linebacker. He did that well. Let's see him get after the passer. He harassed Tua Tagovailoa to the tune of like 8 pressures, had a sack, and we know he was getting held like crazy. There's that famous picture of him getting double teamed and held. They just weren't calling it. But in that game, outside of Micah, there wasn't a lot of pressure. Only D-Law had more than 1 pressure. He had 3. And then Dorrance got like a cleanup sack in that game. So it's not like dudes opposite of Micah are just teeing off. And then obviously the infamous Packers game. We know how that played out. It was a horrible, horrible game across the board. Micah only had... So if this cuts off, I just want to let y'all know. I'm not sure if y'all heard that, but a storm is coming, Mr. Wayne. Let me see. Am I still live? Yep. Am I still live? I'm still live? Yo, this is crazy. Let me tell you why this is crazy right now. I'm still live, but my whole dip is froze right here. So give me a second because I cannot control my computer. So 1 minute. So what's happening right now? A storm is obviously coming here. It may shut off the power. If I get shut off, I'll try to fire this thing back up so I can wrap it up. But give me 1 second. Let me see if I can fix my PC because I cannot even move my mouse right now. Apologies, y'all. Let me see here. Let's go here. All right, that works. 1 second. I don't know how I'm still alive. That's crazy. I know my dogs is nutty. Okay. Hold up. We back. Somehow, some way, I am still live. All right, cool. I ain't even tripping. Let's keep it moving. Appreciate y'all for still sticking here. Where was I at? Oh, the games where the Cowboys lost, and we just got nothing from the pass rush department, either period or outside of Micah Parsons. So when you hear Coach Z talk about setting up other guys and using Micah essentially as like a decoy, he's really saying, Coach Zimmer, I'm sorry, hey, I need y'all to step it up. We're going to put you guys in position to step up, but you have to execute. And I think it's huge, man. Let's keep it going. And I think this is him. Let me see something.
I always say this, do your
Okay. That is a different clip here. The last part he talked about that I want to get into is how he's going to set those guys up. And let me go here. We often talk about the double A gap stuff. We've shown plenty of tape on that when Mike Zimmer was hired. He doesn't just do that though, right? Like Mike Zimmer, is going to be fun to see how he gets these one-on-ones, how he gets favorable matchups. And one of the things he likes to do, and I think he mentioned it there, he might have mentioned it in the Doomsday podcast, he likes to do overloads, right? So he's going to overload a side to get a one-on-one. This is an example against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers where Zim, I think he does a double A. No, he mugs the B gaps. So he's mugging the B gaps instead of the A gaps here, and he overloads one side of the field to where Tom Brady is going to slide the protection. Let me mute
All
everybody
participants
here.
Are muted.
He's going to slide the protection themselves to the right side. So he's trying to get the numbers right? So he's got 4 guys on one side. So we're going to slide the line to make 4 on 4. That leaves 1-on-1 with the left tackle. The tackle is going to be on an island. The running back is going to have a multiple read type of assignment. But Zimmer actually peels back one of the guys, and he only rushes 3 guys to the Bucs 4 offensive linemen slide. So you're going to see, I think this is Jensen, the center, really has nobody to block right here. Okay? So now what that does is it frees up number 50 and it frees up that defensive end. So you can think there that's either Micah Parsons or Micah may be on the overload side where the quarterback is saying, all right, 11's here, plus it's overloaded. Let's go ahead and slide the protection. Now I'll get one-on-one with whether it be Sam Williams, Eric Kendricks, whomever may be blitzing, or Micah's number 50. And because the numbers don't favor you, you still have to slide right. And now I get one-on-one with Micah Parsons and a running back. Come on now. These are some of the things that Mike Zimmer is going to continually do. He's going to play a lot of games up front, but also keep it simple, stupid for his linebackers. So they're able to get back into hook zones. They're able to get back into coverage when they're peeling off. And it won't be as predictable. Y'all remember that play? It's ridiculous, man. Y'all remember that play against the Packers where I think it was Coach DQ who mugged the gaps with safeties and then peeled back, and none of them got to their spots, and it was a touchdown anyway. The final thing on this Micah Parsons, Mike Zimmer thing is, where will he be used? When you look at how Dan Quinn used him, his usage on the defensive line increased year over year. 2021, 40% on the defensive line. 2022, 80%. And then last year, almost 90% of his snaps were on the defensive line. Y'all know how I feel. I think the way he was used year one was amazing. But I don't think the Cowboys are going back to that. But I do think there is something to moving him around across that line. I think you will see him do that. You'll see him mug the A-gaps. He's going to play some quote-unquote linebacker, but I think majority of the time he's going to be blitzing. But 87% is a lot. I feel like that's going to come back down to 80. I would love 70-30. But I do think Mike really likes Maris Leofau. Obviously, he has Eric Kendricks. You got DeMarvion Overshown and Clark. I think they feel a little bit better about the linebacker spot. So I don't think you're going to see Micah playing exclusive linebacker throughout any game. You'll see him moonlight there, probably. But Zim is very aware of having to move Micah Parsons around. All right, let's finish up with Mike Zimmer. This is him talking about some of the things he's emphasizing to the young players and the defense in general.
Job so someone else can have success doing theirs. You know, you might have to sit there and take on a double team, and it's no fun, but you're doing it because the other guy can make the tackle. So, you know, those are the kind of things that we kind of stress, and, you know, playing good team defense and, you know, obviously all the things, you know, be really good on third down, you know, good in stop and run, being good in the red zone. But, you know, when they get out there and they're on the field, they know what they're doing and they go out and make plays, you know, without risking leaving someone else in a bad spot.
That part right there is so important because he had brought that up in his original press conference. He said, yeah, you know, you can make all these plays, but it's about how you make the play. It's the process to making the play. You will not see this team just playing as free. When I say freely, giving the autonomy to say, hey, I'm running a twist. I'm running a twist here when I'm supposed to be patrolling the edge. I'm firing up field here where I'm supposed to be now twisting. They were given a lot of freedom, and I'm surprised Aiden Durde kind of let that cat out the bag. And you saw it cost them a lot, right? Where there was a lot of times, especially early on in Dan Quinn's scheme, you go watch the film and you're just sitting here like, how the hell y'all running into each other multiple times in the game? And not because it's like a normal way, you know, we're crashing the same gap on that. No. One guy is stunting, the other guy's not. Two guys are stunting, and then this guy didn't realize that, and it's like, what are we doing here? And I just think you have to reel that in a bit. And you heard Mike Zimmer say, hey, we're going to be more technically sound and more disciplined. Now, he was a lot nicer to the media, but I'm pretty damn sure, you know, when he's saying these things in the meeting room and on the field, he's not as nice about it. So you're going to see these guys, I think, play more team ball. And that might sound like, well, everybody's out there being selfish, but I think there is a part of the scheme that said, hey, if you see something here, do your thing. Quite literally, your defensive line coach said that. Yeah, we give them the freedom to decide to play games up front depending on how the players are playing them. Zim said, they asked him, hey, you gonna be in the booth or the side? I ain't being in no booth. I'm a sideline guy. You know why? Because if I see some like that out there, I want to be able to talk to them and tell them, nah. We are not doing that. We do not do that here. That's what Zim wants to tell them. And obviously make adjustments and things. So it will be refreshing to see your defensive coordinator on the sideline. Again, I ain't trying to be a conspiracy guy or anything like that. But y'all know those shots in the booth, right? Where Dan Quinn, something will happen. Whether it be good or bad, mostly good. But when it's bad, and you got Dan with the hat backwards, and he just sitting there like, oh, y'all gotta see me. He just sitting there like this. Like, darn. All right, what are we gonna do here? Let me get got the hang. I don't know why he got this over his mouth. And now like you want to. All right, man, we're gonna run dogs here. Dan just like. To me, it feel like Dan escapes the smoke up there. I don't like that. And this is what I mean by I think he escapes the smoke. Dan be running some shit that them players be like, come on, man. What is this? But they all can't get on the phone. They can't talk to him that way. They can't even communicate with them. So what happens? They got to go to Al Harris. So they got to go to Aiden Durday. And those dudes they're not calling the game. It's Dan. Well, first of all, you ain't gonna talk to Zim like that. But I'm pretty sure there's some players that wanted to talk to Dan that way. And they couldn't. And maybe that communication, because confrontation can be good, right? Maybe that confrontation turns into quality communication. So now instead of frustration, it's like, hey, this isn't working, coach. Maybe we should try this. Or, hey, he's playing me this way. Maybe we should try that. Zim is going to be on that sideline. Y'all saw the, you know what I mean? Y'all saw the video in Cincinnati. We all know in Minnesota, he was the same way. So I am going to enjoy Zim being on that sideline. Now, there'll be times where some guys are going to get embarrassed, but that's part of the game, man. How many of y'all played the sport, whether it be from Little League on up? Nowadays it's different. I don't know what they're doing now. Coaching's grabbing you by the helmet, reaming you on in front of everybody. That was normal growing up for me. Now a little different. Yeah, coaches grabbed by the helmet, parents ain't with that. There is a line, right? Can't Bob Knight everything. But there was a clip of Nick Saban and I forget the other coach back at LSU going berserk on the sideline. And there's so many people in the comments. Oh, I can't believe it. That's football, man. It's football. I'm not saying Zim going to be grabbing guys by the helmet. But all that offsides, not containing the edge, running your own stuff out there, Zim is not for it. Zim is not for it. All right, let's finish up with Mike Zimmer here before we get to the other side of the ball.
I said, this is a different deal for me. Usually when I come in, the defense is not good, and they're pretty darn good. So it's a little different for me because we have to, advance some of the things that they were doing good and try to, improve on the things that they weren't doing good. So, but for the most part, they played pretty darn good, and we're going to try to accentuate that and maybe, be a little bit more technique oriented and maybe a little bit more disciplined, some of those things. But at the end of the day, we got to do it the way I want it done, right? Because I know you try to come in and you do somebody else's thing, and, it just doesn't, it doesn't go good.
We're going to do it my way. And if you don't want it done my way, you won't play. It's going to be welcome, man. I think it's going to be a welcome addition. I think it's going to be different than Mike Nolan. The reason why I bring that up is because, Mike and Tom Sula were kind of similar in regards to their discipline, but they weren't good coaches. Let me say this. Tom Sula's a good D-line coach, but Nolan, I don't think was a good coach at that time, hence why he's not even in the league anymore, getting any calls or anything like that. And they just wasn't feeling him. I think Zim is going to have he's going to be stern. He's going to be tough love guy, but he can wrap your arm around you and say, hey, this is why I want you to do this, man. I'm trying to get the best out of you, and this is the way to do it. And hey, if you can't get behind this, then we don't need you here, man. It's that simple. I love you, but I'm not loyal to you. I'm loyal to this team and trying to make, the best out of a situation that we could potentially be in. So, yes, both disciplinarians. I think one's an extremely better coach. Track record shows that. And I think the Cowboys defense, in one way or another, will be better for it. Does that mean this defense statistically will be better? It may not. He even brought this up during his interview, and I brought this up as well. The turnovers, you're probably not going to see the Cowboys ranked number 1 or 2 in turnovers because they're not going to play that way. Now, if they're 1 or 2 in turnovers in this scheme, this is not a knock. They might end up being the best defense in the league. I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't need them to be the best. I just need them to perform at their best when it matters. But if they're number 1 again, y'all, it's going to be something. So that was Coach Zimmer and Coach Zanina talking about Micah Parsons, Mazi Smith. Let's flip it on the other side. This one's going to be quick. Coach Solari spoke. I wanted to listen to him. These are the 3 coaches I wanted to listen to specifically right away and take things away from because we have changes on the offensive line and obviously the changes defensively. And they asked him about Guyton and BB. I don't think much of anything interesting was said there, but there was light shed on the center position, and it surrounded one TJ Bass. So here's Mike Solari.
Again, he's taking reps there. Again, so we're going to work him at center. He's going to compete. Again, he wants to start, so he's going to compete, at the center guard position, and that gives us versatility. And it's so important to have a second or even a third center, on game day. So again, with the limitations, how many offensive linemen you can dress, that's a critical factor. So again, it's really important, and he's ascending at that position. But again, until the pads come on and we get in that game-like environment, we're looking forward to that. But now he's in position to learn the offense.
I like what he said there about, we know this team loves versatility, but game day versatility, having that backup center, maybe even the third center. I think that's interesting because Brock Hoffman, prior to the draft, was assumed the de facto center 1. The conversation of TJ Bass moving to center was definitely one spoken about here on the show within you guys, that it was thrown out there. But we didn't know if they were going to do that. And then obviously they take Cooper Beebe to be center, and I think Cooper Beebe will be a center. But I think there is some value, will be the center. There is some value to having TJ Bass who can snap, and then Brock Hoffman, who Brock might be your backup, but hey, if TJ beats him out, perfect. Because then, no offense to Brock, you don't have to dress him because now you got a guy that can do both. I know Brock can play guard, but can we all agree here TJ Bass is the better player? Is he the better center? That's to be determined. They're going to fight that out. And from the sounds of it, Bass is like, oh, all right, so Cooper Beebe's the center? No. Nah, I'm fighting for that. I still believe Cooper Beebe will beat him out, I think, handily, because I just think Beebe's that good. And Coach, was it Schottenheimer? He said that, man, I've never seen a rookie center who's never played a position not put the ball on the ground at rookie camp. Usually, every year, the center's putting the ball on the ground because that's just is what it is. So I think Beebe will win this position battle. But it would not shock me if TJ Bass was your backup center. And if that's the case, now Bass on game day can carry 2 different roster spots. And now we can use that extra roster spot somewhere else to go deeper. I'm not saying I'm kicking Hoffman off because Coach Mike Solari went on to say, oh, well, let's not rule out Brock Hoffman. So there's that. TJ Bass getting center reps looks like exclusive center reps. And another thing that Solari said there, which I found a bit profound or interesting, was that he talked about position flex with all the rookies. Obviously, you got Guyton moving to left tackle. You got BB moving to center, but he brought up guard. You got Nate Thomas, who is confirmed from Solari. He's going to be a guard. And I love that because I think Nate Thomas, I haven't brought him up. We probably won't do a rating the draft on him, but he is one of the most intriguing late round picks over this, I think, Mike McCarthy era, because I don't think this is the string bean from North Dakota. I don't think this is TJ Bass. I think there's something to Nate Thomas, and he could potentially, I'm not saying Ron Larry, but or Doug Free, I think he can be Ron Larry, Doug Free, Terrence Steele in the sense of late round guy or mid round undrafted guy that can develop into a starter down the line. I'm looking more towards next year. But he brought up the versatility on all these cats. But what he said was the rookie year, we want them to focus on one position so that they can learn the mechanics and the techniques of that, and then we'll add on to it. And I think you saw that with Awesome. They weren't sure what to do with Awesome Richards. My theory is that Solari didn't have enough juice to really get the size guys he wanted. So, not settle, but Awesome was a guy. I would like to see Awesome stay at left tackle. I don't think he has the strength and mass to be a guard, and maybe put on some peanut butter. I don't know. But you saw Awesome kind of going back and forth until they said, hey, we're just going to play you as a guard. Let's see if they play that back and forth thing with Nate Thomas. Doesn't sound like it. Doesn't sound like they're going to do it with BB either. He's strictly a center, and they damn sure ain't going to do it with Tyler Guyton. So I think Solari may be getting his feet up under him, right? These are the type of linemen I want. When I say feet up under, meaning he got some juice. I want bigger guys. And all this snip snap y'all was doing with Tyler Smith year one didn't do a lick of it in year. Think about it. They didn't play Tyler Smith a snap at left tackle last season under Mike Solari's first year. Not a snap. So a lot of interesting things coming out of these assistants talking, and it was all of them spoke, even some dude I never even seen. So if you guys missed that, head on over to DallasCowboys.com or go to their YouTube. That's where the videos are courtesy of. All right, so that's the end of our audio edition / video edition. Let's hit. I'm not sure if I had any supers. Let me make sure I ain't missed those real quick before I wrap to y'all. Also, if you want to call in, you still can. 351-999-3787. Somehow, some way, this storm ain't shut me off just yet, but shouts out to y'all, all 600 of y'all, still rocking. Okay, 16. So we got one. We got one from Nick. Shouts out to you, Nick.
Super chat.
Nick dropped 2 and said, "Can we agree to boycott the JJ Netflix thing?" You can do it. I'm gonna watch it. It is what it is. I don't know that it has any bearing on this season for these players. I remember when Netflix was sniffing around the star, and we heard all the rumors. Hey, there's a Netflix documentary coming up for the Cowboys. I didn't know the details yet. I didn't know if they were doing like a Prime Video thing where cameras was going to be all the players' face. That's a bit of a distraction to me. This is different. This is them interviewing Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin and all the old time guys from the 90s and whatever. So this should have no bearing on the current Cowboys. For one, I hate the fact that the Cowboys are in this drought, but at some point you were going to get a Jordan style, Bull style documentary on those Cowboys because they're the only team or the second team in NFL history to win 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. So that was going to happen. And the Cowboys are the Cowboys, right? So I'm not going to boycott. I mean, you could boycott. I don't think boycott is going to do any damn thing because guess what? As many Cowboy fans there are, there's the same number of fans that hate Dallas. And those same number of fans that hate Dallas are going to watch. This is what it is. 28 days later, 28 weeks later, 28 years later. Yeah, man. That's probably what it should be called. Oscar said Leary had bad knees. Yeah, he came in with no knees, no cartilage or something like that. And he lasted about as long as they thought he would. I thought he still has something left, right? One more in him. Got to Denver and injuries started to pile up, and it was a wrap for Leary. Kind of just fizzled out. Rolo says we have Dakota and Dakota. He's talking about Dakota Shipley, the center as well. Mark said Nate Thomas's high school just did a whole bunch of running. What you thinking about? Running? Good. Then he should have no problem. Shouts out to Nick Harris. They're doing this series over on .com where he's interviewing all the assistant coaches. And I think it was Nate Thomas's assistant coach brought up, man, he just loved firing off the ball and just beating dudes up. Oh, I don't know, man. Look, he could end up being nothing. You can be like, well, Scott, remember when you liked Nate Thomas? I don't know why, but there's a specific type of player at a specific type of position that if you check those boxes, man, the rest is coaching. Nate Thomas checked the boxes. We know what's happening with Zach. Zach's probably his last year, and we need somebody to fill in. Like TJ, but they're moving TJ to center. So I think that tells you something. One more thing on that, right? If you listen to me talk about TJ, the first thing I bring up about TJ Bass, he's smart. It's all over film. He has a high IQ. You saw it from Rip. And that makes sense now, him transitioning into center. Same man, Nate Thomas might be your guard. Beckley said, get off this boycott nonsense. This is our Cowboys. I'm never going to boycott anything. You could say I'm part of the problem. You could say nothing's ever going to change. Damn it, then I'm part of the problem. I ain't boycotting. I'm watching all the games. I'm not a big merchandise member, contrary to popular belief, because you see me with the Cowboy stuff on. But I had a man cave. I haven't made the man cave yet. And had I, if I get into a place where I got a legitimate joint, yeah, I'll set that up. But it's not the case right now. So maybe I'm doing my boycotting by not spending thousands of dollars every year on the Cowboys. But it's not because I wouldn't buy a dope ass hat or a dope ass sweater or a dope hoodie. I would. I'm part of the problem, y'all. I'm not going to stop watching the Cowboys. So quit asking. Well, yes, brother L, that's true too. I cover the Cowboys, but let's pretend I'm just a fan. It's not happening. I will never do it. They'll be watching, AJ. Absolutely, they'll be watching, man. Beckley said, future line, Guyton Smith, BB, Thomas Steele. I think that's the line, bro. I think that is the future line as well. It's raining hard out there, so if y'all hear that, just stick with me for the next few minutes. We almost wrapping this thing up. Rolo said Nate Thomas, a big boy, 6'5", 330. That's what I'm saying. He is the prototype guard. 6'5", 330 plus, powerful guy. And obviously playing tackle, he's a dancing bear. He can do some pass blocky type thing. So I'm with it. Confident Cowboys said our O-line are going to be maulers. They have that mentality for sure. Michelle Castilla, did I get that right? Said boycott, I hate Stephen Jones. Hey, Michelle, as long as you don't boycott old Skywalker still, just don't boycott this show. That's all. Who's our guy that called? I think it was Twan from Connecticut. He said, man, Sky, Cowboys, I'm not watching another game again. But I'll watch you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Vosh said O-line, Sky. Oh, O-line, Sky. Yeah. Vosh turned me into O-line guy years ago. I think it was Law who I first saw do film, then Voch. And yeah, man, breaking down the O-line, I'm like, why would you, how is this not the best group to watch breaking down? Easily. Maybe you could argue running back as well, but O-line, every play, something. I love it. Appreciate you, confident Cowboy fan. So Shaq, the Vikings fan, Oh, and I'm gonna get to that too. Toxic. My bad. I just saw that. How many names you gonna have here, brother? Rockstar Shaq, aka Mr. Rockstar Shaq. Are you Shaq the Vikings fan? Let me make sure first, because people can have multiple names. Johnny Woods, why won't they try to trade Martin? Why it still has value? I remember Star brought that up last year, and I thought it was not a great idea. I still don't think it's a great idea because you're what are you getting? You weren't getting first round picks out of Zach Martin. That's not how you just weren't going to get that, especially with him having 1 year left on his deal. It's not going to happen. So you're going to get what, a fourth, maybe a third? He worth way more than that. So sure. If somebody's going to give me multiple first or first round picks for any player, yeah, I'm listening. Okay, well, what else, right? But that's not that's not going to happen. It just doesn't happen that way. So the idea of trading Zach Martin, I think is no. Now, if you're the type that say, "Oh, I don't care the compensation. He's old. He has 1 year left. He's not the demigod Zach Martin," and you're cool with taking the 4th, 5th, 6th round pick, by all means, be fine with that. Not me. He's way more valuable to this team than a 4th round pick for 2025. I mean, that's just how I look at it. and that's just the AT Jack. I'm just giving the general part. You get dive deeper. Come on now. But hey, man, there's people that want to trade. They want to trade Micah. They want to trade Dak. They want to trade CD. I saw somebody, it might have been a caller, said trade everybody except Tyler Smith. That's what he said. Okay. CJ said, do I think we're going to sign Gilly Locks? I don't. Sounds like, well, you know what? Let me be a little positive. I don't think we're going to sign him back, but injured shoulder, post June 1st, you get a little bit more money. His market is not as high. Maybe Gilly says, look, I got one more in me, 1 more year. And Dallas says, all right, I got a couple million. I'll give you a little some. And Gilly says, I'm in Dallas. I was in Dallas. I know the system. Well, actually, it's a different system, but I still think he'll fit into this system because Zim requires smart, heady guys. I would love it. I think the Cowboys would benefit from it. But I'm going to say no, but I ain't going to rule it out just yet. Let's get Brandon from Houston. I'm surprised Brandon from Houston's not a Texans fan. But what's up, B?
Hey, but I'm like the meme, where the guy has a girl and he's looking over his shoulder.
No, come on, B. No.
I'm just playing. But I ain't missing any games. I was born into this. Already jumped in. It's Dallas Cowboys for life. You know what I mean? But you look over and you're like, dang, they kind of doing shit right.
Right. Let me be fair to you though. See, I wasn't born in a city that had an NFL team. Thank God, because the closest one to me was the Eagles. Because I'm pretty sure had that happened, I likely would have been a fan of that team. You know what I'm saying? You being born in Houston, you could have easily been an Oilers fan. I don't know how old you are. You could have been an Oilers fan. Or if you're super young, you could have been a Texans fan, but you're a Cowboy fan, and we love that. However, if a team was new when you moved there, I wouldn't be mad at you if you said, hey, man, I live in this town. This is a new team. Yeah, I root for them. I wouldn't be mad at that.
Hey, you know what? I chose whenever I moved to Houston, I was like, all right, I'll pick up the Astros. But I ain't giving up the Cowboys. That just ain't how it rocks, right? But as far as the schedule and the season goes, still, I mean, it's a lot on Mike Zimmer. I think everybody's freaking out about what we didn't do, but nobody's saying, facts. The facts is if we could run in the A-gap for 1 yard in Miami, we're the number 1 seed. We're really close. If we could get 3rd and 4th and 1s last year and run the ball when we wanted to run the ball.
We'd have to beat San Francisco, but, yeah.
But, I mean, the thing is how does anybody do this? They drop in a shell, basically. Our receivers, we got CeeDee Lamb, but we can't get everybody open, right? And, they're not really scared of us running the ball. So I don't know if anybody should be scared of our running backs, but I think by the time the end of the season, I would love for us to start fast, But as long as we get in the playoffs and the offensive line is gelled by the end, I think we're going to be all right. And we're going to be better than a lot of people think we're going to be. And so I'm optimistic.
For me, in regards to the O-line, even if they're not all the way to where we want them to be, which is, look, that's possible. You got 2 rookies that are going to be starters. So I don't expect this to be, the Great Wall of Dallas 3.0, immediately in year 1. I just want it to be respectable, right? My focus is more so, Brandon, Ken McCarthy, once he gets to the playoffs or as we're ramping up, right, these last 4 weeks at Carolina, home against Tampa, at Philly, home against Washington, are we seeing progression in the play calling? Are we setting up teams for the playoffs with our ground game? Somebody had posted, I think it was 2016 Cleveland game. I told you I was at that game, right? And I'm watching the plays, right? And I almost commented this, but I said, nah, I just don't feel like getting into a back and forth on Twitter. But if you watch, and I get it, it's rookie Dak. A lot of under center, right? A lot of under center play action, rolling out, obviously handing the ball off, getting downhill. The offensive line is doing some wide zone stuff. I'm like, man, if it's one thing Scott Linehan did great for the Cowboys, it was his ability in year 1 for Tony Romo and Dak Prescott to adjust to those quarterbacks. After that, he didn't have an answer. But year 1, he knew what was best for that team. And I would love to see the Cowboys get up under center a little bit more. I would love to see the play action boots. I would love to see them kind of go back to the strengths of what Zeke and Dak could do. McCarthy ain't an under center type guy. So, maybe they'll figure out a way to be able to, do the how part leading into the playoffs a little bit better. If not, brother, even if the line gels and we're one dimensional, I don't want to have to go into each game saying we're leaning on a pass game every single time, and if that doesn't work out, we just hope for the best. I don't like that.
Well, all right. Well, let me counter with this. What if we're a team that we can go in and we say it doesn't matter if we're playing San Francisco, Baltimore, or the Kansas City Chiefs, they're not scoring more than 20 points on us? So does that change the dynamic on what our offense needs to be and how it needs to run?
I wish I could sit here confidently say it doesn't change, but bro, the Niners scored 19 points in 2022 and the Cowboys scored 13 or 12. So they couldn't run the ball. They gave up on it. They continued to utilize a broke down Zeke at the time. They wouldn't give the young guy any opportunity, and Dak couldn't put the team on his back in that game after having a fantastic game the week before. So again, it comes down to, will Mike McCarthy figure out the run game in the playoffs going into the playoffs? Because you can hold the team to 19 points, under 20. But are you going to score more than 19 points? Because I've seen you not be able to do it.
Hey, well, you know what? I have watched those exact same games and disappointments with went through them with the fine-tooth comb. And you can't have your center getting his ass whooped in a playoff game. You can't do it. And if you can't control A gap, then what do we even show up for, right? Like, we're not going to beat a San Francisco or anybody formidable in the playoffs if they say weak man is right there in the middle, the closest way to get to that and affect the offense. So, I mean, listen, there's a lot of ifs and there ain't nothing really to be confident about. But you know what? This is one of my favorite seasons. I love when people say, like, Cowboys are done. Like, we normally end up having a good season when everybody writes the sauce.
Yeah, every time I hear people say this team's not going to win, be over 500, I say, man, I'm sorry. If I'm going to talk about history of teams not winning the division back-to-back, I got to talk about the history of the Cowboys. When they have a healthy quarterback, they're going to be in the playoffs. That's just normally how it works. It's only happened one time where they didn't in the last, decade, and that was 2019, where they went 8-8, of course, because they had the 8-8 master in Jason Garrett. But if 4 is healthy, you're not suffering catastrophic injuries from his weapons, this team is likely going to go to the playoffs. But I don't really just care about that. I care about how they get there and obviously what they do when we get there.
I'm with you. I mean, we could be the 7th seed if we can stop the run and run the ball by the time we get to the last game. Hey, I'm with you because I want to build a team still that no matter who we play on the road or at home, we got that defense that's going to hit you in the mouth, and we can run and throw when we dictate it, right? And we'll see if hey, McCarthy's on a 1-year contract, so if he can either build that offense to be that dynamic, and Zimmer's on a 1-year contract too, so they both got a lot to prove in a hurry. But if they can, I think hey, there's been a lot of. I mean, Mike took that 6-seed Green Bay team, right, and all they had was a quarterback and some dudes, right? Like, so we got a quarterback and some dudes as well with a couple of stars. We'll just gotta see if we can get it done this year. But I'll let you get back to your show. Always a great conversation. But I mean, I think a lot of people aren't thinking about schemes sometimes and how we got out schemed by some of these teams, which honestly our rosters were better. And we'll see what we can do moving forward.
I mean, good stuff, B. Appreciate you, dog. Yeah, that's one of the biggest talking points for me each year in the playoffs, and obviously coming out of the playoffs, is coaching. And 9 times out of 10, it's not the greatest. So now it falls back to the players. You need to overcome that, and they just haven't been able to do it for quite some time. But getting out coached is basically what you're saying. Yeah, that's been a reoccurring theme for a very long time. How many times have you went into the playoffs and been like, came out of the game, win or lose, and said, man, what a fantastic game plan? I can count one. Tampa. I gave Kellen hella credit in that Tampa Bay game. Hella credit. Now, obviously, Dak was doing Dak things as well. But where I was like, good job, Kellen. You stuck to what the hell worked, and that was the red zone. Go watch the Tampa game and how they call things in the red zone. Go watch the Niners game. Night and day. And that's where I said, like, come on. And then on top of other things. So there's not many times you can come out of the game and say, man, what a fantastic game plan. And then obviously you talk about some of the other games in 2018, getting ran off for 300 yards. Packers game, the 3rd and 20. Some of it's been luck. The Des Bryant game. So there's that. But there's not many times you come out of these games and you're like, man, what an amazing game plan. It's not going to happen every game. Sometimes there's going to be a few games throughout the season where, as a coach, you have to somebody may be hurt. You may be suffering from a lot of injuries. It's maybe a down game from a certain player. You got to be able to dial it up for them. I prefer that to be in the playoffs because I think it's really hard to say, hey, I need one specific player to lead 4 straight games to the playoffs. That's hard. You know what I mean? Not even the great Patrick Mahomes can just be like, hey, Andy, give us the wackest game plan out there. Pat, you go do your thing. Oh, and defense, I don't need y'all to step up for me. Don't need no turnovers. Don't need no key stops. Just you know what I mean? Just make sure that they don't score 40. Can't do that, man. There's going to be times in the playoffs, multiple times likely, it's going to be ugly. Somebody going to have to carry somebody. Coaching is going to have to be outstanding. If the coaching is not, then the players are going to have to be. Playoffs is it's a strange lady. The league is a strange lady, as Broadus would say, but the playoffs in general, man, it's just a different ball game, and we know that. We seen what happened last year. Cowboys were the better team. Cowboys got out-coached, and then they quit. Well, one side of the ball quit. All right, let me refresh this right here. Good stuff, B. Run game and defense does travel, bro. 100% they do travel. We got a couple Brandons keep calling in here. Brandon from Frankly Football calling in. What's good, B?
How you doing, brother?
What's up, man?
So I was thinking about this ever since the schedule came out. We're talking consistently about the new pieces on the O-line and which defensive players may, cause trouble for like Tyler Guyton, who's being baptized by fire, and Cooper Beebe, as new guys there. Are there any other positions that you're looking at and saying, okay, we got to be prepared for this?
Well, when you go up against teams like San Francisco, Houston, Detroit, I'm not going to say Phil. We'll see. We'll see what old boy Kellen Moore does. Baltimore. When you go up against these type teams, I don't know who Tampa's OC is now. They lost their OC to the Panthers. Your second level is going to be tested, right? These are teams that like to do pre-snap motion, post-snap action. So you're going to get offensive linemen going one way, and the next thing you know, a wide receiver is pulling around, and they're coming the opposite way. So your vision for a linebacker is going to have to be on point. So I would say the second level for sure will be tested by teams like that.
Okay. I think that, a lot of these teams with good running backs, for example, like the Falcons, if Nick Chubb's back, et cetera, I could see your defensive line being a group that sees a lot of opposition, because you're essentially dealing with two rookie classes. 2023's draft class didn't really contribute much as far as production and play time. So when you see Nick Chubb going against Mazi Smith, who they're placing a lot of faith.
I don't know if Nick is going to be there, bro. He tore his ACL he tore everything pretty badly.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to be
I just used him as an example. But, like Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson, Christian McCaffrey, so on and so forth. I could see a lot of those teams being a real challenge for the defensive line because you're having a lot of turnover there. Dorrance Armstrong was responsible for 41% of snaps.
My apologies. I thought you started off the question saying outside of the defensive line, but yeah,
no.
Of course,
outside of the offensive line.
Oh, outside the offensive line. Yeah. The defensive line is definitely. I mean, it's thin. The defensive tackle room is extremely thin. You lost two key veterans on the edge, so you don't have that anymore. So you're relying on Sam, who you hope that he keeps his head straight. And then the Marshawn Nealon. So, yeah, 100% the defensive line is going to be tested for sure. I thought you were saying D-line was like an obvious choice, but outside of that, my bad.
Oh, no, it's all good, brother. It's all good. I think that we had a solid testing point last season with the San Fran game, at the quarter mark of the season. Is there a game on the schedule where you're saying, all right, this is the true testing mark?
San Fran, week 8, Sunday Night Football. What are you talking about? Here you go.
Hey, man, look.
Hey, dog, if you can go to San Fran, get that monkey off your back, that should help carry it. Now, look, it's a week-to-week league, but I think there is something to getting that type of monkey off your back. I don't know how it's not San Fran. I look at this. You beat Detroit at the crib last year. You played well. And as good as they are, I think you can beat them again. Baltimore's early, so even if you beat Baltimore, it feels like it's early, right? I don't put too much stock into it. San Fran dead smack in the middle. On the road, Sunday Night Football, gonna be crazy. You're coming off the bye, no excuse not to come out there prepared because the Cowboys for three straight games have not been prepared to play the San Francisco 49ers. So that's the one. You come out and you play them well and beat them, that could carry over some momentum.
I agree, man. I agree. Those are just the questions that I thought about today while I was walking the dog. Brian really wanted nothing else, and I ain't gonna take up too much of your time.
Hey, appreciate the questions, man. Good stuff. That's a good. Let me ask y'all that. I'm gonna take that question from Brandon Franklin Football in the chat and put it in chat actually. What is that game? What is that game that you have circled on the calendar that could, I don't want to say be a turning point, but you'll learn most about your squad? I think San Francisco might be too easy. So outside of San Fran, I think San Fran might be the easy answer, right? I'm looking at the schedule here. I mean, maybe Baltimore at the crib. It's just so early against Baltimore, though. We always beat Philly, man. Maybe Cincy. So if I'm going outside of San Francisco, Detroit's a good one because Detroit's early, but it's a good one because it is week 6. I can't complain about 2 weeks. Probably Detroit. I'm going to go Houston, though. Yeah, here we go. Look at the I'm going to go Houston. Houston going to be good. Oh, yeah. Let me tell you why Houston. That's the answer. Outside of San Fran. Let me tell you why Houston. It's like a baby San Fran. That's a baby. This is why it's a baby San Fran. D'Amico Ryans got your number. Number one. McCarthy. Maybe Kellen. Whatever, though. D'Amico Ryans played well against that offense. You're the head coach over there. This Texans team loaded up defensively. And on the other side of the ball, now this is where having Mike Zimmer is great. Bobby Slowick comes from the Shanahan tree. You've been having trouble with the Shanahan tree. So you're going to get a glimpse of it. Again, that is something else I just thought about here. Kevin Stefanski does some things, but he doesn't do the Shanahan things. Ben Johnson, I always bring him up, but he doesn't do the Shanahan things, but he does some things like. So you'll get San Fran, you'll get a test, and then you'll get Bobby. I mean, he comes right from the Shanahan tree. It's Houston. Diggs on. It's Houston. Yep. That's the one game outside of San Francisco that I think you can learn a little something about. Especially, look, check this out. I'm not saying this is going to be a make or break game, but I feel like it might have playoff feel to it. Right? Young quarterback, Micah, CJ, that whole thing. Ascending young quarterback, good ascending team. You're at home. We just saw what happened last year. Ascending quarterback, ascending team. Maybe you have momentum. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 home games. Or you're 4-0 at the crib. Right? That whole thing. Hey, Cowboys are 21-1. That whole thing keeps rolling or whatever it is. Kind of similar to what happened against the Packers. Oh, Cowboys can't lose at home. I fell victim too. I thought, man, we're going to win at home. Go up against a young ascending team and get whooped. So maybe you can get your lick back on a young ascending team at the crib where you may be on the road at the crib. Yeah, man, Eastside Harold, dog. I can't even be mad at him. He's one of the worst opposite fans that come into these communities. But hey, man, I can't be mad at you, dog. Your team they doing some good things. They're doing some good things. All right. With that said, we're going to wrap this thing up. Do me a favor. If you enjoyed today's kind of schedule reaction, plus we listened to a couple of the coaches, hit that like button. We'll be back tomorrow, Friday. I'm not sure if it's going to be a Fan Friday. We'll see. We done did that twice in a row, but y'all be asking some good questions. So maybe I'll roll the mailbag back out there. We got a new mailbag segment we've been doing, so that's been fun. We'll have Pat on, though. Pat will be on. I'll get his thoughts on the schedule. He did some science on the schedule breakdown. And whatever else is coming out of the Cowboys headquarters over the next 24 hours, we will talk to Pat about that on Friday. So make sure y'all swing back through tomorrow. And if you missed today's show, run that thing back. It was a good one. Yeah, no C tomorrow. No C tomorrow. Yeah. Toxic. I don't know how you can look at your division. You could look at the other team in your state and be like, yeah, we're doing things the right way. All right. Okay. Let me go ahead and press this button and get up out of here.
Push the goddamn button. Push the goddamn button.
OTF? Man, we can do the OTF segment tomorrow. But I'm not going to center it around the Drake and Kendrick Lamar thing. I'm kind of over that now. Maybe we'll find something else. Shouts out to my bro, Lee. Dropped 2 on the way out. Said, bro, if there's a year to live home, it's this one. Appreciate you. Hit me up. Explain that one. Love y'all. Peace.